she used to be referred to as Crane Bedi rather than Kiran Bedi. How do you get the courage to challenge Mrs. Gandhi?
So the PM's car and my sub-inspector walked up to saying अपनी गाड़ी खटाओ कनॉट प्लेस में. वो देखते नहीं किसकी गाड़ी है. बोले किसकी गाड़ी है? प्राइम मिनिस्टर घर की गाड़ी है. तो बोले वो हमारी पॉलिसी ये है किसी की भी गाड़ी हो आपको कहाँ ले जाओ. बोले नहीं जाएगा. तो उसने क्रेन लगाई, चलान दिया, पैसे लिए, मुझे मैसेज दे दिया कि मैम हमने वही कर दिया जो आपने कहा था. मैंने कहा शाबाश और करो.
So the young girls of today who may be wanting to get into even let's say IPS. So what would be your message to them?
Recognize your strengths, identify your weaknesses. Weaknesses, convert them into opportunities to learn, but do not lose your strengths.
Brilliant messaging. तो वो कौन से वो disciplines हैं या rigors हैं जो आपने हर दफा अपने साथ चलाए हैं, irrespective of what position you were at, what job were you doing, and clearly as you were going up the ladder, it was becoming more and more complex, more moving parts and so on.
एक चीज मेरे लिए मुझे जो खटकती है और मैं नहीं बर्दाश्त करती वो मेरे साथ, और मैं अगर पोजीशन में हूँ और मेरे से इनजस्टिस कोई करवा दे वो सवाल ही नहीं उठता. और उसके लिए मैं अपने आप को कुर्बान करने को भी तैयार हूं और हर टाइम मैंने कुर्बान.
Brilliant. If you were to ask a certain generation of people which cuts across age groups that talk of a lady government officer over a 20, 30, 40 year period, ढक्कन खोलो और बेझिझक जो पहला नाम आए, which is that name which comes to your mind? And I have no hesitation in saying that it is Kiran Bedi ji and nobody else.
इतनी बढ़िया इंट्रोडक्शन मैंने कभी नहीं सुनी.
Not joking. Honestly, and you know
that's मेरे लिए but दूसरों के लिए.
Look, it has a lot of ramifications in terms of how these brands then become iconic, and and then there are traits. So similarly,
it's a good idea.
Today we will look at Kiran Bedi ji as an iconic brand, permit me to say that, who brings along with her so many attributes. Brands don't get built overnight. I mean, it takes them hundreds of years to get built, and similarly yourself. So my aim today, and it's not an easy one, it's an arduous and an onerous task, to get out things out of Kiran Bedi ji which are soaked in wisdom, which are laden with experience, and which hopefully the audience, including me, are going to gain out of. So I'll start with a loosener question. If you were not an IPS officer, what would you be?
Two options I had: to be academic world or the legal world. I had two options.
Okay.
Because I loved education and I loved teaching. Started my career as a lecturer. I could have gone on to do my further education. So I had options, education and the legal profession, when I went on to do a law degree as well. So therefore, and I kept these as options because you never know when I want to say thank you to the IPS. I had options. I kept my options open even in the profession because I dared to do things which were breaking rules.
Talking of dare, one of the thoughts in my mind today was of courage. I'm told there was a story which some of you may be aware of, when she used to be referred to as Crane Bedi rather than Kiran Bedi, because she had the audacity, if I may use that word, of picking up a car which was wrongly parked somewhere in, whatever, around CP or something, around Janpath, and she took that car away because little did she know that it belonged to Mrs. Gandhi.
No, we knew.
We knew it. Oh, so look, that's one layer on top of it. She knew it, and she still had the courage and audacity. So here is one person who wears a job on the sleeve, and that's why those two options, ki kabhi bhi main nikal jao and I can go. Tell me how do you get the courage to challenge Mrs. Gandhi, who in her own rights was an extremely strong woman. She was not one docile lady. She could have taken any route to kind of reprimand kind of a middle level police officer at the time. Where did you get the courage from, and what was that interaction all about? How did she respond, and what are some of the learnings which we can learn from that?
When I started in service, I became a probationer and a trainee in 1975 and led the 26th January parade. That was for the first time a woman led a male parade. And I wasn't being given the honor of doing so because the male IG police did not believe the woman could lead 15 kilometers parade from Rajpath to Red Fort. And I was the senior most probationer. I was within my rights. And I was only 25 years old at that time, just returned from training. And I learned I was being denied that leadership. So I went and saw him. I said, I'm told that you're choosing another person, my junior colleague, to lead the parade. He said, yes. So I said, sir, may I know the reason? Is it because I'm a woman? But sir, will you be able to do it? So I've come back equally qualified. I've trained equally with the men. And I've not done less training than them. And therefore, why won't I be? You give me a chance, I will. But sir, I'm the senior most in the batch. That means you're not doing me a favor. I'm the senior most. That's my right. So I said, sir, I believe I'm the senior most in the batch. He said, yes, you are. I said, sir, then? So will you be able to do it? I said, yes, I will. How long, sir, will I keep telling everybody I've done equal training? So he said, in that case, I'm very happy. He was a man called P.R. Rajgopal. He was from the Madhya Pradesh Indian Police Service cadre, a thorough gentleman. He was my first Inspector General. I led the parade. When I led the parade and I did Dahine Dekh on the 26 January, Dahine Dekh, it was Mrs. Gandhi taking my salute.
Okay.
I saw her pop up, stand up and clap. She felt very good that
Finally, she was seeing.
she was seeing.
Yeah.
I saw her. She stood up. And I also looked her into the eye when I said Dahine Dekh. The next day, I got a call from her to come and join her for breakfast. So I was the youngest probationer ever, police. So it really caught the imagination of people, Mrs. Gandhi inviting her. Since then, we were friends. So I was doing my duties around. I would meet her, security duties, etc. And she and I would always smile. I loved listening to her speeches. I admired her for the manner in which she spoke, the way that she conducted herself. And I now became DCP traffic.
Okay.
And her car was also wrongly parked. And my policy was spare nobody. My policy in traffic was you will not spare anybody because everybody is a somebody here who owns a car.
Yes.
In Delhi those days, everybody had to be somebody, no? So I
Yes.
said, you will not spare anybody. So the previous car and my sub-inspector walked up to saying, अपनी गाड़ी खटाओ, कनॉट प्लेस में. वो देखते नहीं किसकी गाड़ी है. बोले किसकी गाड़ी है? प्राइम मिनिस्टर घर की गाड़ी है. तो बोले वो हमारी पॉलिसी है किसी की भी गाड़ी हो. आपको कहाँ ले जाओ? बोले नहीं जाएगा. तो उसने क्रेन लगाई, चलान दिया, पैसे लिए. मुझे मैसेज दे दिया कि मैम हमने वही कर दिया जो आपने कहा था. मैंने कहा शाबाश और करो.
Brilliant.
That's it. And then what happened? She didn't bother. She was not that kind of a. But the white potedars and Dhawans of the time,
Yes.
you remember Dhawans of the
Yeah,
time?
yeah, yeah.
They transferred me out 2 months after. Simple. But you see, you don't know my transfer, but you know what I did.
Yes, yes. But the beauty is that you can be courageous, but to ensure that the 1,000 people reporting to you, you transmit the same kind of courage to all. They didn't have to call back Kiran Bedi and say, ma'am, PM ki gaadi hai, hum isko utha le. They did it on their own, and this is what empowerment is, as a leader. Look, a lot of us want to be courageous in lives. And bachpan se, your parents and your environment makes you courageous. Probably still we will not reach the same courage levels that you did. How did you become courageous? Were you born courageous?
I think I was growing courageously without knowing what courage meant. I didn't know what courage meant. But at the age of 9, 8 and a half, 9, my father was a very good tennis player, very loving tennis. He loved tennis. So he gave me a tennis racket saying, मैं भी club में जा रहा हूँ, तुम भी चलो. So we all went. I was playing tennis from the age of 8 and a half to 9. I started to play competitive tennis from the age of 14. Became a national junior champion at the age of 16. Became India's #1 at the age of 21, 22.
Wow.
Became the Asian tennis champion. Look, when you play competitively, you cannot be but courageous. Because you're taking every shot as a risk. Every tennis shot is a risk.
Yeah.
And if every shot is a instant decision you take, and then you lose and you win. So I think I don't know what courage is. I only know how I learned it by playing and competing and traveling and finding my own solutions.
Brilliant, brilliant. You know, there are so many questions related to this which come to my mind. Look, Kiran Bedi was destined to become what you became eventually. And the seeds probably were sown when you were a child. Your parents had a role to play. A lot of it was innate. A lot of it you acquired. But you must have dreamt at some age कि मुझे एक दिन इस देश का नक्शा बदलना है, मुझे IPS ऑफिसर बनना है. तो वो कौन सी what was that age where that happened? You know, it also boils down to kids of today. At what age do they start envisioning that this is what I become? Do they have role models? You probably did not even have role models because there were hardly any women other than Indira Gandhi maybe and a few others. What do you think is the answer to this question?
I saw crowds and crowds. I used to attend weddings, crowds. Saw crowds, but I decided to never be part of the crowd. I decided I'll not be part of this kind of a crowd,
Okay.
See, I was making choices already. I will be away. At that time, I didn't know whether it was a girl or a boy, how was it different. But I'll not be part of this kind of crowd and get lost in that crowd. So I distanced myself all from this kind of a crowd.
So typically what would you do? Distance means you would be like in a world of your own, focused on your studies, focused on that sports, tennis, and not get, was that what you do? And your parents obviously were supporting you at each level.
Yeah, I did all that to remain away from the crowd. I did all that. And what was that? Education.
Right.
Creativity, new learning, constant learning, growth. So I was constantly growing mentally. Physically, I was whatever, was emotionally balanced. So I think I was being very careful of my growth because I didn't want to be, I rejected those crowds. I was rejecting the dowry crowds, bride crowds, those wedding wastages. I was rejecting wastage. I was seeing wastage. How parents were being exploited. How girls were getting exploited. How boys sometimes were being dominated. I rejected all of them.
And when is the first time you think, you can recollect, you thought कि मुझे IPS में जाके देश को बदलना है?
मुझे देश में सर्विस करनी है. IPS ग्रेजुअली आई है.
Okay.
लेकिन मुझे क्योंकि ना मेरा इंजीनियरिंग ओरिएंटेशन थी, मैथमेटिक्स मेरा बड़ा कमज़ोर था. सो साइंस के लिए मेरे पास टाइम नहीं था बिकॉज ऑफ टेनिस. सो मैं ना साइंस जा सकती थी, मैथमेटिक्स मेरा कमज़ोर था. बट आई यूज्ड टू बी वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ लिटरेचर.
Okay.
I did honors in literature and then moved on. So I was very fond of literature. So reading literature, I think literature really makes you, liberal arts makes you grow holistically. So this was my option. And then I sat for the UPSC, gave IPS as a first preference, without knowing that this is not meant for, there's never been a girl there. Everybody friends saying, hey, बेवकूफ, IPS क्यों लिख रही है first? ऐसे मुझे यहीं जाना है, यहीं करना है. तो आ गई, मांगी तो आ गई. और जब आ गई तब पता चला कि कोई था नहीं इसमें. तो मुझे बुलाया गया. केसी पंत वाज द होम मिनिस्टर एट दैट टाइम. तो मुझे मसूरी से इन्विटेशन आया, किरण, केसी पंत वांट्स टू सी यू, सेइंग लुक यू क्वालिफाइड फॉर मेनी अदर सर्विसेज, कैन यू, वुड यू पिक एनी? आई सेड नो, आई विल नॉट पिक एनी. दिस इज माय फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस, सर.
Wow. Look, the learnings which I personally have, hopefully they are the same for you, is one, for your kids especially, however muddled the world may look, you got to be zoning in and asking yourself, what is my vision? Where do I land up? Unlike what kids of today are, they are all over the place. You have to make some choices. The world will throw probably 20 times more choices at you today than they used to back then, so it's that much more difficult. But how do you zone in and kind of make your choices? And look, you know, whatever she may say, she was clearly God gifted. So not everybody is God gifted and, you know, has that mental faculties right from the childhood to be so bold and courageous and all that. So I think those were some of the learnings. My question is, next question is related to the man's world. You must have answered this hundreds of times. Back then it was clearly a man's world. You said it even a little while back. If you were, if you were a man in IPS, do you think you would have gone further? You would have done better than what you did. Being a woman, was it some sort of a impediment, or did it throw up obstacles for you? And what would be your advice to the girls of today for IPS and jobs in general? That how should they be competing in this still, what I would call a male dominated world, whether government service or its corporates?
Look, for me to be a successful leader today is to be androgynous, andro and gyne. You have the best of the qualities of the women and you have the best of the qualities of men. So you have androgynous. I am androgynous. I have the best qualities you have. What do you have? You got great muscle power, right? You got great muscle power. You got courage. You got risk-taking power. You got more endurance, more stamina than me because you're built differently. I lose energy every month. You don't. You gain. You continue. So I am androgynous in the sense, what I did not have but you had as men, I took it over by playing, competing, practicing. So, but you have to take over what I have, what many men don't have. It's the heart. It's the heart, the emotion, the empathy, the compassion, the kindness, the humanity. I had both. That's why I'm getting recognized today, because I had the best of the traits of men and women. So I became an androgynous manager, but I retained my womanhood.
Right.
So as a woman, I have the qualities of the men. When it requires the quality of the so-called men, I have it. I lathi charge, I fire, I tear gas, I discharge, I punish, I dismiss. That's assertion, right? But I have the woman, I have the kindness, I educate, I give, I serve. So when you have both, you're twice over. So that is what has happened in my life without knowing that you can be twice over. And now I have the money which women didn't have. I have the money, I have the mobility, and I have the muscle.
Right.
So I have the muscle, money and mobility. But I have the heart and the head and the hands.
Lovely, lovely answer. So the young girls of today who may be, wanting to get into even, let's say, IPS. So what would be your message to them? That listen, as women, you have all the good qualities, but it is a bit of that, the muscle and so-called courage and all that, which if you can kind of get it together, then you probably are clearly having, you're one step ahead of where men can end up being in IPS also and in corporate world also versus what women can do. Yeah.
Recognize the edge you have. Why losing the edge? You have an edge.
Yeah.
Provided you have the muscle, mobility and money, right? If you have these three, keep your heart, keep your healing with you, keep your kindness with you. Why are you losing this? So on the contrary, build on both. Keep building on both so that you're good to both. You're good to humanity. So grow up to serve humanity, not men or women. So I think that's my message is recognize your strengths, identify your weaknesses.
Brilliant.
Weaknesses, convert them into opportunities to learn, but do not lose your strengths.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant messaging. And I think one more thing is often we as people outside of the system say that the police today and even back then used to lacks empathy, lacks that heart somewhere. And it must have been, you must have led it and subsequently a lot of other women IPS officers to bring in that emotion and heart into it. Brilliant. So between Kiran Bedi, the IPS officer, and Kiran Bedi, the person, क्या ये अलग हैं? क्या ये same हैं? In most instances, especially when you become very, very senior, you have to kind of sometimes put up a facade because the world is also watching you and you were in those kind of positions. So what is your reaction? Are these two people the same? If they are not, where are they different?
मैं समझती हूँ कि जितने आप क्लोज हैं पर्सन और प्रोफेशनल में, उतने आप आसान हैं, साधारण हैं और खुश हैं.
बिल्कुल.
मैं पर्सन और प्रोफेशन में मेरा एक अंतर है. एक बारी मेरा काम खत्म हो जाए तो मैं घर जाती हूँ. मुझे फिर कुछ नहीं और चाहिए. मुझे कोई डिस्टर्बेंस नहीं और चाहिए, then I'm very public and personal and private. But when I'm in public, then nothing better than public. But then only matters is to me with being public. So I am public in public, and when I'm in person, I'm totally a person. That is the reason. होता क्या था जब मुझे इलेक्शंस का कहा गया कि इलेक्शंस लड़ो, आई वॉज बोथ नाउ अ प्रोफेशनल एंड अ पर्सन, एंड कॉन्फ्लिक्ट शुरू हो गया. वो मेरे पास शुरू हो गया. वो 3 बजे रात को एक जना खड़का रहा फोटो मेरा घर का दरवाज़ा. मैंने कहा, उसने मेरे स्टाफ ने कहा मैडम सो रही है. मैडम इलेक्शन लड़ रही है, कैसे सो सकती है, कैसे सो सकती है. तो मैंने समझ गई कि ये नहीं मेरे लिए काम का. यहाँ पर्सन और प्रोफेशन कुछ है ही नहीं. मैं तो खिड़की भी दरवाज़ा भी नहीं बंद कभी कर सकूंगी. मैं वेट करी थी इलेक्शन हारूं कब, और भगवान ने मुझे हरवा दिया और मुझे वापस अपने आप को ऑथेंटिक सेल्फ बना दिया. क्योंकि व्हेन आई फॉट द इलेक्शन, आई फॉट इट फॉर अ कॉज. आई मेट द कॉज and I let it known, I met your cause, I've done my duty, but I didn't want anything out of it. So I returned to my original self.
Brilliant. So as an individual over these 40-50 years, you transgressed various, jobs, lieutenant governor also, pseudo-political if I may say.
क्या pseudo-political? It is administration.
Administration,
Lieutenant governor, lieutenant governors, they may choose to be political, but it was administrator's position, which had nothing to, it had strictly the rules and the laws and the constitution, which I strictly followed. It was as an administrator. इसलिए मेरे से कोई खुश नहीं था.
तो वो कौन से वो डिसिप्लिन्स हैं या रिगर्स हैं जो आपने हर दफा अपने साथ चलाए हैं, irrespective of what position you were at, what job were you doing, and clearly as you were going up the ladder, it was becoming more and more complex, more moving parts and so on. What are those disciplines? What can you tell some aspiring people here who will by now not go into politics for sure after whatever you said, but what are those disciplines they should follow, which should remain always a part of you?
एक चीज़ मेरे लिए मुझे जो खटकती है और मैं नहीं बर्दाश्त करती, वो है इनजस्टिस. मेरे साथ, और मैं अगर पोजीशन में हूँ और मेरे से इनजस्टिस कोई करवा दे, वो सवाल ही नहीं उठता. और उसके लिए मैं अपने आप को कुर्बान करने को भी तैयार हूं, और हर टाइम मैंने कुर्बान.
Brilliant man, brilliant.
It was always justice.
Brilliant, brilliant.
अपने साथ हो जाए injustice, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, वो मेरा है ना. But I'll not let justice happen because I'm in that position, but to do justice. That is the reason I was very, very predictive. मेरा स्टाफ प्रोडिक्ट कर सकता था ये सिचुएशन हो रही, मैम ये बोलेगी, and it was correct. I was that predictive.
Like that crane incident where he knew what your reaction would be irrespective of Prime Minister's.
So injustice सवाल ही नहीं उठता.
Brilliant. Any other such hardwired discipline which you had followed?
दूसरा हार्डवायर्ड ये था कि अगर मैं आपको तकलीफ दे रही हूँ और आपसे एक्स्ट्रा काम कर रही हूँ, तो मैं आपसे ज़्यादा करके दिखा दूंगी, फिर तुम करो.
Lead by example and show that you are as much into it. Ageless brands वो होते हैं which are driven by a certain purpose. Like Apple is such a brand, iconic. Starbucks, एक purpose होता है उनका. They are driven by some strong value system, and that's why they are ageless. And that's why you're a marketing person, you just said. That's why they are ageless. They can survive generations. They can cut across age groups. They can cut across, territories. And that is what, to my mind, is Kiran Bedi ji. She's an ageless brand, woman brand, last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. That one person who they believe, not the corporate, but on the government side, that comes to their mind, dimag ka dakkan khula, which name pops out first? It is Kiran Bedi ji. Some of the key learnings I thought were look, a lot of things you're born with. So, uska kya kare? Kiran Bedi was born with, she had innate abilities, but they're God gifted. However, her choices which she made them herself. She chose to not be a part of the crowd. She chose to be focused mercilessly on her vision was. She was focused on some games which was making her, very competitive and combative, which she knew at some stage she would be using. She walked into purely a man's world. Any other job would have multiple other, women also participating, but in IPS there were none. She found her own ways of using her strengths and converting some of her negatives into opportunities by working on them, becoming stronger, did lathi charge also. And look, and she was extremely courageous and innovative and so on. It also says that somewhere people, after some point realize that if somebody is genuine, if somebody is, what you see is what you get, uske liye bhi ek respect hota hai. And I think that saw her through at a lot of instances which she was narrating to us. And despite all odds, she is where she is today. Salute you, ma'am, on behalf of the whole team,
Thanks
of everybody else.
Thank you so much. Very kind.
Loved this session, and I wish we could have continued.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
thank
Very
you.
kind of